After ending the phone call with Susan's kidnappers, Barbara, Sabitha and Altos decide to investigate things themselves, falling into roles that preempt the creation of Scooby-Doo by several years. In his cell, Ian is being patronised by a guard. They've given him toddler's first clock to tell the time by. His execution will be when the only hand on it reaches the big star. Presumably the firing squad will shoot through coffin-shaped windows. Meanwhile, the Hoobie gang figure out that whoever killed Aidan must be responsible for kidnapping Susan. They decide to go and visit Aidan's wife Carla. Now she's not under threat from her abusive husband, she may be able and willing to help them. The gang arrive at Carla's and speak to her. In her trauma, she keeps repeating a line from her favourite sitcom episode, Wonky Lodges, Dissemination, Katzenjammer.
I know nothing, but we think you might be able to help us. I know nothing.
She breaks down in tears under Barbara's barrage of questioning, telling them she understands how concerned they must be after speaking to the kidnapped Susan. But look, she's got a whole box set of sitcom farce based around the hospitality industry to get on with. Carla's tears turn to evil chuckles as Barbara and company leave. She has Susan locked in a closet, but Carla isn't a complete monster. She's willing to let Susan join her in watching her favourite show. Before she can hit play on the first episode, Carla receives a phone call. Ian has been found guilty and sentenced to death, and the doctor hasn't revealed the location of the key. Susan is to be killed as she can identify her, so it seems she won't be enjoying the sharply written and clockwork precise performances of the original Wonky Lodges. But, in an act of sadism, the eye-bleedingly, brain-killingly terrible Vord remake. Pish! Down the hall, a penny drops for Barbara. Carla mentioned them talking to Susan on the phone, but she couldn't have known that unless she had been involved. They head back to the apartment. As Susan's spirit starts to break under the onslaught of joke writing by humour masochists, performances that would make Wood blush, and direction that seems to be nothing but instructions to go slower, less intense, Carla decides to be merciful and make it quick by shooting Susan in the head, and then burning those cursed discs. To hell with her completism. As she's about to do it, Barbara, Sabitha and Altos tackle her and drag her out of the room. Relieved that the ordeal is over, Susan gives Barbara a big hug. Outside the courtroom, a glum-looking doctor is consoled and lightly patronised by the victorious Ison. He hands over the murder weapon to be locked away in the super secure, mega impenetrable evidence locker. Barbara calls and speaks to Taryn. She tells them not to bother with any of that forensics nonsense, as she knows Carla did it and they should just pick her up. Later on, Barbara is bragging to the doctor about her excellent detective skills that led them to rescuing Susan. Susan gets a little bit excited reliving the violence.
Yes, and then the three of them crept up behind her and whoa!
They hope that Carla's capture and confession will lead to Ian's release. Taryn enters and informs the group that Carla, in a completely unexpected twist, has named Ian as her accomplice. As Taryn puts it,
"She's a vicious, dangerous woman."
And the way she kept crossing her legs during the sweaty interrogation while quoting dialogue from an old sitcom helped to bemuse her questioners.
So I know nothing.
Susan mentions the voice on the other end of a phone call Carla received. While she didn't recognise the voice, she did make out plans for him to collect the key later on. The Doctor, making his own attempt at an evil chuckle, jumps on this and plans a sting operation. Later, in the evidence office, a ninja with no peripheral vision sneaks inside. He heads over to the secure locker and opens it with the key and removes the murder weapon. He's jumped by Taryn and his elite squad of one as the Doctor turns on the light and reveals the face under the ninja mask. It's Ison. And he would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for those pesky time travellers. With Ian freed, the Doctor finally reveals what he's known all along, that the key was hidden in the mace.
That made him look so guilty, I never doubted for a moment that he was the one.
You should read Pirro, my boy. He founded skepticism.
Well, not on bloody Marius he didn't, did he? Taryn reveals that Carla and Ison were going to sell it and live it up on some tropical island with a non-extradition treaty. The buyer, Mr. Crayat D. Ovor, was going to pay handsomely. Much later, as they have had to wait for the sticky cogs of bureaucracy to do their ponderous work, Taryn finally has the paperwork authorising him to hand over the key to the Doctor. He doesn't believe the travel dolls are capable of transportation. So Ian, Susan and Barbara demonstrate. They also highlight another design flaw in Arbitan's work. The travel dolls only work if you're stood against a completely black background. I mean, God knows how supercharger things would become if they were in a Vanta black painted room. The Doctor follows them, leaving the bemused guards wondering how they'll explain this without being disciplined for drinking on the job. Again.
I shall say that they left.
What a genius. At the pyramid where this all began, Yartek is taunting Altos with the death of Arbitan. He adds insult to injury by dressing in the dead man's robes. I hope he got the blood out first. A drunk Vord brings Sabitha in to see if that will loosen Altos' tongue regarding the whereabouts of the last key. But, by using years of role-playing experience, she acts all haughty and claims Altos is nothing but a sub and doesn't know anything. Yartek calls her bluff and orders Altos killed. Sabitha begs them not to, but still refuses to reveal the location of the key. Yartek quickly changes tack and threatens Sabitha's life. Altos folds like a soggy house of cards and immediately rats on the Doctor. Elsewhere in the pyramid, the Doctor and companions enjoy a quick game of hide and seek. A pretty mad idea considering the ghosts that are around the place. Finally, they go looking for Arbitan. In one of the corridors, Ian spots a Vord. He distracts it, and the Doctor clobbers it with his stick. Sighted, for now, he immediately wants to head back to the TARDIS, but the others insist on finishing the job and finding Altos and Sabitha. Ian takes the key and goes with Susan to find Arbitan. The Doctor and Barbara go to find their young friends. Barbara picks up the Vord knife and gives it to the Doctor, knowing that will get his blood flowing again. Ian and Susan enter the key chamber and see the hooded figure of Yartek sat by the machine. He tells them the machine has infected him with the disease, not only keeping them away from him, but also explaining why Arbitan now has a huge misshapen head, a completely different voice, and a seemingly more considerate personality. Yartek asks about Altos, who he doesn't know, and wants to know if he's a good man. Being British, Ian won't commit beyond, yeah, he's alright. He drops the key on the floor for the contagious Arbitan to pick up. They leave, and a gloating Yartek tells his underling he wants Sabitha and Altos to witness him inserting the final key before he dominates them. Outside the chamber, Susan is voicing her suspicions to Ian. Ian, his mind presumably still addled from the head injury he suffered in Millennius, not to mention whatever multiple travel journeys have done to it, slowly walks through all of the inconsistencies in Arbitan's behaviour, as if it's a particularly cryptic clue in a crossword. In the cells, the Doctor frees Altos and Sabitha. Ian and Susan arrive, and Ian reveals that he gave the false Arbitan the false key. So he had figured it out then. As Sabitha tells them, when the fake key is inserted, the machine will explode. Yartek lovingly inserts the key. Later on, after the dust has settled, the Doctor talks to Sabitha outside the TARDIS. He's very diplomatic when talking about her father, but does warn her not to follow too closely in his footsteps. The travellers enter the TARDIS as Altos and Sabitha head off together. They still have their own travel dial, so will probably end up having a gap year and finding themselves. The TARDIS leaves, still in stealth mode.